Hello, Internet! Welcome back to Cinema Brawls, the show where we pit two movies against each other and talk about which one is better. And here, you can expect to receive the purest amount of dopamine anywhere. Crack kills. Get help.
I know I told Daniel we could start this one, but who said you could? Today we're doing a Winners Bowl episode, which entails us picking two winners from previous videos. I'll start.
Except the most recent one, because we just talked about that. And,
right. Yeah. And we are going to see what comes out on top.
I got The Revenant.
I got A Quiet Place.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
So, A Quiet Place is A Quiet Place is a 2018 movie directed by John Krasinski and stars Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, and Millicent Simmons. A lot of people forget her, but she was great in this movie, and you know it.
I don't feel like we need to recognize Millicent.
Anyway, The Revenant is a 2015 movie directed by Alejandro Iñárritu, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Domhnall Gleeson.
That is
good
stuff.
And Mark is set.
Let's go ahead and start with story.
No.
I like the story of A Quiet Place a little bit better. First, just right out.
Why is
that? There. I feel like it's a little bit more, it's more unique.
It's interesting.
It's creative.
I don't know. I mean,
considerable amount of trees.
If you compare the two, you're right. It is a little more unique. It's a monster movie.
It's an alien monster movie.
Yeah.
Where the other one, it's a true story, which is cool.
Yeah, true story.
He said the other one is...
The original. Quiet Place is not a true story.
Little did you know. It's based on real events.
I think The Revenant is a good story about a bear attack, obviously. Of course.
It's about a guy who survived a bear attack.
Right.
The bear attack was a very small part of it.
If I'm being honest,
A dope part, but a very small part.
I think The Quiet Place was cool, but I think the story had less meat on it than The Revenant. I think I like The Revenant a little bit more.
I mean, it was a higher concept, though, which I appreciate more. Whether or not it was told as well as it maybe could have been, which I still think it was told very well. Mm-hmm. I like the high concept movies more than...
You just found it more entertaining to watch monsters run around than to watch a guy,
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't watch trees? Yeah, I did.
I don't know, man. I think the story in The Revenant put in more effort. I think that there was a little bit more to it than just what was happening in Quiet Place, which was the family just kind of trying to live.
That's all Revenant was Leonardo DiCaprio trying to live.
Right, but in a more unique and fun way.
One thing that I did like about The Revenant specifically was that The Revenant made it feel like this was just one man in a world of characters, each with their own goals, motivations, and life that they have lived. And I liked that aspect of it, but I feel like that's more in characters.
Right.
And so
I think I might be leaning more into characters on this, actually. But you're probably right. I mean, Quiet Place has a more unique story.
Right. Higher concept,
aliens
more creative.
Aliens that hunt by sound arbitrarily. Sometimes they can't hear crap.
Yeah.
Like the woman giving birth in the next room.
Revenant was good, but I don't think we can discount that The Quiet Place was really good too.
Yeah.
Alright, let's give it to Quiet Place.
The story goes to Quiet Place?
Any story that can make a lamp falling over terrifying, that's a good story.
However, leading into that, I think next category, characters, we have to go for Revenant.
Absolutely, because they made the most interesting, fleshed out characters out of just normal people.
Yeah, it really, like Daniel said, it really was a whole world, and they just had this one guy in it.
And I mean, I've noticed when I've talked to other people who don't movie as much as we do, man, are we getting critic syndrome? That they were like, what's going on with like the Native Americans that keep just passing through? They don't really do anything to the story. They're just there. But it's like, yeah, they're there. They were there in the real time that this happened. These were real characters, real stories that happened. And it's the subtle character clues that kind of build the story. Like, yeah, you might not. Sometimes this character introduction is like a super huge big deal. He's in front of this big fire. He saves Leonardo DiCaprio from freezing at this time, and then just dies.
Yeah.
Almost off screen, and it's uncomfortable and weird, but that's just what happens in life, especially at this time.
Yeah, characters from Revenant were giving us a lot more. Where it's Quiet Place, again, not bad, but and, you have the relationship with the daughter and the father,
which was great,
and it was a deep emotional arc, the sacrifice, things like that. I just feel like there was less added into the characters, like they took less time on it than what the Revenant did.
I think a lot of the reason for that was because they spent a lot of brain cells on the concept in the first place, and it was a relatively low budget movie. That was just it was written and directed by Chris Bones.
Again, I'm not saying Quiet Place did a bad job with their characters.
Definitely
I'm saying the Revenant just really
That was where it
excelled.
Yeah.
So I think for characters, I'll give it to Revenant.
I agree.
Now,
Rewatchability.
So
it's definitely Quiet Place.
It's probably because it's at least an hour and a half shorter.
Yeah, it's more.
3 days shorter if you take out all the shots of just trees from the road.
As Quiet Place is faster pace, again, more interesting concept.
High intensity.
Right.
I wouldn't say action, but
it's interesting because actually both of these movies has very little talking.
Oh yeah.
Both of these movies almost have no talking at all. Yeah. And so if you don't, but they both do it in such a good job, in such a good way.
Oh yeah.
I usually hate movies with little talking. Not that I could ever find them, but
they are out there, but it takes a really good actor and director and just concept to make the acting speak for itself rather than having to have the dialogue cover for the acting.
I agree. It's a lot more of a obvious team effort coming together when everything just works out and all Leo has to do is just look at the sunset or something. It's like, here's your Oscar.
Yeah, but even though he's just looking at the sunset or looking into your soul at that last shot, he is acting his butt off in this.
Absolutely.
But that being said, Quiet Place is still so much more rewatchable.
Definitely.
That one's always the most shallow of categories, but
it's necessary.
It is necessary, and I think Quiet Place takes it.
I agree.
However, as far as merits and genre go, I'm giving this one to The Revenant.
Yeah, me too.
Explain yourself, Gardner.
Well, you're right.
See,
let me.
A lot of people recognize The Revenant as just the movie that got Leo his Oscar. Whether or not they actually saw it, whether or not they thought it was good, or whether or not they even remember it for anything else since then, they only know, oh, this is Leonardo DiCaprio's finally getting his Oscar.
That he won for Titanic changed my mind.
But Quiet Place, everybody went and saw. Again, because of that high concept. Everybody was like, okay, this looks interesting. They saw it, they loved it. Now there's a sequel less than a year later.
I think people wanted to see The Quiet Place. It's like, oh, John Krasinski, the goofy dude from The Office, is making a horror movie.
Right.
The goofy dude from The Office, plus the beard from 13 Hours.
Right. And he did a great job of it, and everybody was pleasantly surprised by it, but I still think that's what he gets remembered for, of John Krasinski's movie. Right.
Well, now this whole category is supposed to be for what have these movies done for their genres? How do they stack up compared to other movies? And I think A Quiet Place has done a lot for horror movies. I feel like it is a nice, fresh take on horror movies, especially in 2018. The only other significant one was the reboot of Halloween, and I don't know.
My point is,
I think it was a very fresh take. Get Out was also great for the same reason.
But I think Quiet Place didn't quite do that. I don't think it did as much as you think it did. Because I think a lot of movies have been coming out in the last few years that are kind of redoing the way horror movies work. People are kind of sick of the old horror movie formula, and so they're reworking a lot of different ways. You have things like Get Out or Us or what was that one? Lights Out was really good.
Lights Out
was good.
Yeah, and
I
A
like
Quiet
Don't
Place.
Breathe better than Lights Out, but you know.
Right, yeah, Don't Breathe too. You've got a bunch of movies that are coming out very recently around the same time that are doing the same thing, trying to revamp it. And Quiet Place wasn't the first, it won't be the last, but it's still up there.
Sure.
I think it's going along with other movies. Whereas The Revenant, I think, what would you even categorize that?
The Revenant
don't know,
is an
that's the
Oscar movie. Like, when I say The Revenant is an Oscar movie, I mean it is a movie specifically for filmmakers. A normal Joe Schmo audience member won't like and appreciate The Revenant.
Hold on though. I'm a normal audience member. I don't
You're
like
not, you're a film critic. I hate to tell you.
not as much a film critic as you think I am. I
do the show
hate
with me.
Yeah, no, I know, but I hate those movies that are made specifically for the Oscars. I can't stand them. And I think that the Oscars are dumb for voting those things to the top anyway. I loved The Revenant, though, because it was a fun movie that was, I don't even want to call it, like, too deep, but it was
It had some depth.
it was
to
very
it.
depth. It had the right type of depth to make anybody who went and saw it really enjoy it. And I think that people who did see it loved the movie. Everybody I was with who saw the movie loved it.
I think that the people who see it like it. I don't know about love it, but I know that people like the movie, but the people who love the movie, The Revenant, are the ones that are like, oh my gosh, did you see that water at the beginning? That is amazing. Wow, look at how many times did they have to do that to like get it right like that? Like, I'm thinking more about the craft of filmmaking, then yeah, The Revenant is awesome, and it's this amazing example of the craft of filmmaking. That being said, nobody wants to go through that again. Nobody wants to make movies like that because they're so hard and they cause so many problems.
Yeah, but the people who do put in the time and effort and come out with an Oscar-winning movie.
Yeah.
And people are going to keep making movies like that. And if you can make an Oscar-winning movie that's not freaking 3 billboards outside of whatever, or freaking let's have sex with a water alien, like, that I enjoy, I'm not going to enjoy those.
Not an alien.
What the freak
Yeah,
ever?
goof nugget.
You get my point. Like, movies made for Oscars aren't good.
Not usually.
Not in the sense that we enjoy.
They're not always enjoyable movies.
So I don't think The Revenant fits that category.
What I'm meaning by that is that The Revenant is on this one side of auteur filmmaking. It's this idea that the craft of filmmaking in itself is inherently superior than any other aspect of entertainment versus The Quiet Place that is a low-budget, entertaining, fun movie, PG-13 horror movie that the whole family can go to and the whole family can enjoy, even though there are tense and sometimes even a little bit gruesome moments, it's still an enjoyable movie. And so they're just two diametrically opposed ideas of filmmaking.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is, I mean, you kind of just proved my point. Rewatchability is for the Quiet Place type movies, which are fun and enjoyable. But this category is for the ones that earn merits, the ones that are filmmaking spectacles.
Yeah.
If you put it like that, then yeah.
Yeah.
I would give it to The Revenant.
I still think that A Quiet Place has done more for horror as a genre, even if there are several other movies that have done it recently and will do in the future. I still think any one of those is more memorable than The Revenant. So I'm still voting for A Quiet Place.
I'm voting for The Revenant.
I'll vote for The Revenant for this one.
Alright, well, it's 2-2. Let's go for a new category.
Last category.
Emotional impact.
I mean,
Come on. Regardless of how much Leonardo DiCaprio can act his butt off, there are too many trees in The Revenant.
that's your biggest problem.
That is my huge problem with this movie.
I like the trees.
There are some parts.
Congratulations, you're wrong.
You say trees, I'm like, what's the big deal?
Daniel's point is there are a lot of times where they'll cut from the main action in kind of awkward times just to look at some trees real quick and then come back, which I understand that can be frustrating. But when I watched it, I wasn't bothered by it. I was still, my emotions were still carried through the 3-second still of a tree.
Right.
But my like when I think of the most emotional moments in either of these movies, the one that sticks out to me is when John Krasinski signs "I love you, I have always loved you" to his daughter, and then yells and gets slaughtered by aliens.
Sure. It was very emotional. Here are my thoughts. We've got two different movies, both very emotional. You have The Revenant, which I think, you have the connection between father and son. There's a lot of death, and it's kind of cathartic when he gets his revenge. In a way that is it's not so petty as it is, like, honestly justified. And even then, he lets other people kind of take care of it. And I think there is a lot of emotion behind that. However, The Quiet Place tries to, what emotion does it want to convey? Most of it throughout the movie is terror.
I see it as like a tension. That is the prime emotion it's going for.
And does it convey tension?
Absolutely.
Couldn't eat during the movie. Didn't want to make a sound. We talked about that a bunch, but it literally made a movie where you didn't want to breathe.
It didn't make nearly as much money because people didn't buy theater snacks.
Yeah.
Because they were too afraid to eat them.
I know. The scariest part of the movie was a lamp being knocked over because of the tension. And then you do have
Loudest lamp in cinematic.
Honestly, though, like what the heck? But you get my point. And then you also have the stuff like the signing "I love you" and the family dynamic. The kid dies. That was heart-wrenching.
Right out of the gates.
Right out of the fetching gates. I think throughout the movie, Quiet Place did it better, and I think usually I like the throughout rather than the highs and lows.
For sure.
Which we discussed many times.
It's true. I was very invested in that final fight in The Revenant, though. Like, every shot and every time he, freaking stabbed his hand or something, I was just like, oh.
Right.
I was invested.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Revenant has the high points and it's got the low points with emotion. But Quiet Place just keeps it consistent and keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Absolutely.
I'd rather have The Revenant win, but I feel like Quiet Place has this category by a landslide.
I think so too.
Okay, I agree. But that does mean Quiet Place is our winner.
The champion of champions.
Revenant's still great.
Oh, no, it was in the Winner's Bowl.
It was.
It won.
Winners that lose the Winner's Bowl are still winners.
Well, that's it for this. Thank you for sitting through that and listening to our opinions, which honestly don't matter as much as you think they do.